It is 3 in the morning. The rest of the world is asleep, but you are wide awake, trapped inside an empty commercial building. You are the only person on the floor, bound by duty to stand at a register and wait for the door chime to ring. Under the dull, humming glare of fluorescent lights, night shift workers experience the fishbowl effect. The brilliant interior illumination turns the storefront windows into mirrors for the person inside, destroying their outward visibility. To anyone standing outside in the darkness, the worker is perfectly framed and completely exposed. We assume our workplaces are safe, governed by corporate policies and security cameras. But in the dead of night, those rules evaporate. The profound isolation of the graveyard shift leaves workers uniquely vulnerable to those who operate outside the law. We are going to examine 3 true accounts from night shift employees. These 3 stories map an escalating typology of predatory behavior, revealing how attackers weaponize isolation, moving from distant psychological stalking to highly coordinated multi-person ambushes. In 2017, a 21-year-old was working the closing shift at a rural gas station. It was late, the parking lot was empty, and the clerk was the only employee scheduled in the building. Around 10 o'clock, the store phone rang. A low, heavily disguised voice on the other end asked a single question: if the clerk was alone. Thinking it was a prank, the employee hung up. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. The caller let out a soft laugh, told the clerk they shouldn't be rude, and began making specific comments about the layout of the store, proving they were watching from the darkness. At 11:40, a man walked through the front doors. He had an entirely blank, emotionless expression. Rather than approaching the counter, he paced the aisles for 10 minutes in complete silence. Every few moments, he would stop, peek over the top of the metal shelving, and stare directly at the worker. The man eventually brought a single bag of chips to the register. He never spoke. As he pushed the glass door open to exit, he turned his head back over his shoulder, locked eyes with the clerk, and stretched his face into a massive, intentional smile. Looking at this top-down schematic, we can see exactly what the predator did next. He didn't walk to a vehicle. Instead, he walked right around the side of the building, slipping out of the security camera's green cone of vision and tucking himself into the architectural blind spot, waiting for the clerk to lock up. Terrified, the clerk locked up early and sprinted for their car at midnight. Halfway across the asphalt, they heard the sudden slap of heavy footsteps. The smiling man had emerged from the shadows and was speed-walking aggressively directly toward them. The clerk threw themselves into the driver's seat and locked the doors just as the man reached the car. This level of threat relies on psychological intimidation. The predator forces the target to realize they are being surveilled, isolated, and severed from any immediate help. At 2 in the morning, inside a massive big-box retail store, the environment shifts from a small room to cavernous, brightly lit aisles. A lone employee was assigned to stock electronics in complete silence. The worker noticed a man hovering in the adjacent aisle. He wasn't browsing. He was simply standing perfectly still, holding up a phone and recording the employee. Suddenly, a woman's voice rang out. A total stranger quickly approached the employee, wrapped her hand around their arm, and loudly pretended to be an old friend. Leaning in close, she urgently whispered that the man was recording them and told the worker to follow her immediately. The employee initially felt a wave of relief, but as the woman steered them through the store, her grip tightened. She maintained her fake, cheerful conversation, but her physical force became aggressive, pulling the worker rapidly away from the busy front registers. If we map her route on the store's blueprint, her intent is clear. She bypassed the secure areas and dragged the worker toward a specific side exit in the warehouse, a loading zone that lacked any security camera coverage. Realizing this, the employee yanked their arm free and sprinted back to the front of the store. When store security reviewed the surveillance tapes, they uncovered the reality of the situation. The man recording and the woman playing the savior had walked through the front doors together. This is a coordinated team tactic. By operating together, they weaponized the victim's own instinct for safety, turning the Good Samaritan illusion into a trap. Our final account takes place at an isolated highway gas station. It was past 2:30 in the morning in the dead of winter, with a thick, freezing haze hanging over the empty parking lot. A customer pushed his way through the doors in a panic. Shifting from foot to foot, he delivered a rehearsed explanation that his car had broken down just past the highway entrance, begging for a flashlight or a jump start. The clerk glanced at the security monitor to verify the story. The car was there, but in the grainy black and white feed, the clerk noticed movement. A second man was crouched low to the ground in the dark, hiding motionless behind the car's rear bumper. The clerk smiled, excused themselves to the back office, and slammed the emergency panic button. The moment the alarm screeched, the customer's panicked demeanor vanished. He relaxed, flashed a slow, knowing smile, and casually jogged out the door, retreating into the woods with his accomplice. When police arrived, they found the car had been stolen a week prior. They also found the front passenger door had been left wide open. This tactical breakdown of the ambush perimeter shows exactly what the target was facing: the bait inside the store, the ambusher behind the rear bumper, and a third attacker waiting silently inside the open car door. The three-man team had engineered the environment into a hunting ground, turning the employee's forced isolation into a tactical trap. Working through the night places the employee at a structural disadvantage. You are physically anchored to a brightly lit register, while a threat has total freedom to move and plan in the surrounding shadows. The true horror of these accounts lies in the human element. These aren't paranormal encounters. They are the result of deliberate, predatory planning executed against an isolated target. If you ever find yourself working the graveyard shift, pay attention to the silence. Trust your gut, keep your eyes on the security monitors, and accept the reality of the situation.